Welcome to the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast, where we remember a time when stacks of cards were held together with rubber bands and Mickey mantles were put in bike spokes. We hope you will enjoy and reminisce as you come along with us as we tell stories about the baseball cards from the Golden Age of Baseball. We will examine the state of the vintage baseball card market and talk to some of the greatest collectors in the hobby. You won't be hearing us talk about any chrome or shiny cards here. Now, to take you on this retrospective journey, here's your host, direct from the shallow end of the gene pool, my son, Mike Moynihan.
Yo and hello everybody, Mike here, and welcome to a special live episode of the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast. As your dad said, as my dad, not your dad, that was my dad doing the intro, and he said no chrome or shiny stuff here. That's going to be true. Although I did have a hiccup with my guest. My original guest was going to be Craig, who is a great dealer at the NAT, does a lot of shows. Tons of great vintage stuff. He's actually been on the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast before. Unfortunately, he couldn't make the tech work and some timing with some things. And so I have another friend of mine that's going to come on, and I'll bring him on in just a second. But if you don't know, I am obviously a baseball collector on YouTube. I have a podcast through Bench Killer Media called Golden Age of Cardboard. You can get that wherever you listen to your podcasts. And so many of you guys are watching that, listening to that. I really appreciate the support. It's awesome. And and then I do stuff on Bench Clear Media, Chasing Cardboard. I'm kind of busy on the content creation front, but let me bring in my guest because we're going to get started because we don't have a ton of time today, 50 minutes or so. And I want to give as much time to you guys to, talk to this guy too. Best looking guy on YouTube, no doubt. Josh. What's up, man?
What's up? Good to see you, man. I didn't know that was your dad too.
Yeah, right. Rated rookie here.
What's up? Are we talking NFTs today or what?
We're totally talking NFTs. That was the plan all along. I was just trying to get people to come on and, think we were going to talk vintage and stuff like that. No, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, buddy. People were saying almost a month away, 32, 33 days away from the National. So the countdown's on.
And for those of you who don't know, Josh is going to be one of my roommates. We got an Airbnb. We got a great crew of guys that are going to be staying with us. We're going to have a really good time, aren't we?
Should be quite the house. Yeah. Andy's in there.
So Andy, JT, Joe. Oh my gosh.
Is it true that Joe Silver Jackify made you leave the Yankees game before that walk-off?
Actually, that's not true. I have to take full blame for that. I made him leave the Yankees game the other night. I was there Thursday night with Silver Jackify, and we left in the 8th inning, and the Yankees scored 4 in the 9th to win 7-6. And it looked, we got back just in time to watch the end of it, and the place was going bananas. There you go. You got to do it.
Rated rookie here. What's up?
Dang right. Sounds like Animal House is that's going to be right at the National.
Not a lot of sleep.
Not a lot of sleep's going to be happening. No, Ken, I'm not becoming a dealer. $20 from Mark Stove Collector, our first super chat, which will lead me to, I guess, what I want to bring up. We've got 40 people or so in the room. Let me let you guys know what's going on this whole weekend. As you're watching Bench Clear Media, as you're watching all of the different live streams, hopefully of your favorite content creators and all that kind of stuff. If you give super chat money, you will be entered into a raffle to win all kinds of stuff that I have gotten from Panini. It's all right here, literally right next to me. I mean, got a box of Prism. That's a pretty good box, isn't it, Josh?
That's huge.
I got baseball stuff, WWE. I mean, it's all crazy. What boxes are going to be given away is on hobbypalooza.us/Hobbypalooza 2022. And the way it's going to work is if you do $5, you get 1 entry, $20 super chat gets you 5 entries, $50 super chat gets you 15, and $100 gets you 40. If you were watching the last stream, I gave $100 as a donation because Frank was also giving away a Ted Simmons autograph. And I'm like, great, I get to support a great cause and get a really cool Ted Simmons autograph that I know he got in person from Ted Simmons. That's just, it's the stories, right, Josh? I mean,
awesome.
Just last year when you and I were at the National, we walked around a lot together because we think the same about car. You were looking for a Maze rookie, right? I remember this. And you and I looked at, I don't know how many, a bunch.
Everyone in the whole convention, pretty much.
Yeah. And as you would go, or we wouldn't necessarily be together, but you'd be like, hey, come over to table, blah, blah, blah. I found one. I'm thinking, what do you think? And you bought the DiMaggio last year too, right? The play ball.
That one actually Vince helped me out with. That I ended up getting afterwards, but I got the Maze rookie, and it's funny,
Okay.
these cards you kind of remember who you got them with, who helped you out, right? Same thing, I remember when you got your Maze rookie, right? It's like it builds the story, and that's one of the benefits of the National, right? It's like you can have your buddies come look, tell you, weigh in whether it's a good deal, and give you their thoughts.
Yeah, it matters. Like it. Oh, Chad. Oh man. Super chats are rolling in. Thank you guys. John, $5. Thank you. Chad, thank you. $100. That's awesome. I want to be the guy that raises the most money during my live stream. Like I want to be the guy that goes, yep, Mike killed it. So that's up to you guys to make that happen. So appreciate it all. You're right though, Josh. The National is, I can remember where I got my Maze rookie. I was with Andrew Enough Said Cards at the 18 or 19. I wish I could remember. I can look it up what year it was, but in the moment I'm forgetting. It was awesome. And I remember him talking me into that card. But I want him to, what's cool about your friends is they can also go, no, don't do that. Because we get emotional, right? In the moment.
Right.
Like, I can't remember if I talked you out of any or not. I don't think I did, but it helps you think. You want someone else's opinion who's not emotionally invested in the decision, right?
And Andy never buys anything, so he's like the most non-emotional buyer. And so it's great to get someone who's not really tied into it. You get kind of heated, of course, if you've been going back and forth with a negotiation, and someone who can give you their opinion is super important. Wow, another donation there.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy Lee.
Wow, Jeremy.
But that's Canadian. I don't know if it's like 15. It might be like $4 US. I don't know right now.
There was needed
with inflation. John wants to know. So, just so y'all know, Norman is not here. We because of Hobbypalooza this weekend. Julie took Norman and went out to the ranch. So I've got an empty house this weekend, so I can focus on all of this stuff. To make sure this goes off as well as it can possibly. I would say without a hitch, but the minute I say that, Mark and Bob are going to ruin it tonight by having some type of technical glitch and completely screwing up all of Hobbypalooza. But we're going to give them
glitch. So I got a question for you, Mike. What's, I don't know how close you're playing it to the vest, but what's on your list this year for the National? Because I know you're not like Andy. You're going to walk away with something, right?
If I don't buy a card in the first 5 minutes, something's wrong. I'm taking the largest budget I've ever taken to the National. And that's partly because I've been more conscious about kind of putting money aside for it personally, as well as like, hey, this National, I think is going to be an opportunity to fire sales. Not a great word. I'm not throwing that around I just think there's going to be some deals to be had. And I'm not going to spend the money just to spend the money, but at the same time, I'm going to be ready to spend the money if the opportunities present themselves accordingly. So to that end, I have a list of 900 and something items that I would love to add to my collection. So my list is long. I don't go in going, I want this card, but I will say I'm really eyeballing a 48 leaf Stan Musial.
Nice.
I still haven't added that card, and it's just been one of those that I really love that card and want it. And a 41 play ball Pee Wee Reese. So those are just two examples. What about you?
Yeah, I went into this year with like 6 vintage cards kind of on my radar. I was lucky Brian B. Roth helped me get the Jim Brown rookie, and then recently got the Ted Williams rookie. So knocked off 2. And then the other vintage cards that have kind of been on my list for a few years are the Bill Russell rookie, the Mikan rookie, obviously the 51 Bowman Mantle. All this has to be super low grade. So we're talking like PSA 1s, right? And then potentially a T206, Cy Young, or Walter Johnson. Those are the other ones that I've been kind of hunting for a few years. So we'll see. You know, a lot of it comes
Like
into
that one?
literally that one. Yeah.
Here, I'll just hand it over. Like, that would be cool if I could just do that and you pull it in. Like, that would have been.
If only it's that easy.
Yeah. I'm getting this one graded at the National.
Oh, nice.
Along with, I've got a little short stack of national grading stuff I'm doing here.
That's your favorite card, right?
It is. This will be my second one of those. And then a beat up easily PSA 1 34 Gaudy.
So another question for you. When you're buying, do you prefer like a beat up PSA 1, or do you prefer a nice looking authentic altered in a PSA slab?
Oh, look, I'm not saying this is smart. In fact, it's probably very stupid, but I am a registry snob. And to that end, I need a freaking numerical grade. So the reality is I probably wouldn't buy either. That's just the truth. But if those were the only 2 to choose from, and I could have a really nice looking authentic or a crappy looking one, I'm going to choose the one, which is, again, this doesn't make any sense logically. Like it's so stupid to be that way, but I am. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I rather have, you know, a card that hasn't been altered, messed with, right? Nothing that's trimmed. We both got, you know, what was it, 48 Babe Ruth PSA 1s, right? And I'd much rather have that PSA 1, even if it's definitely a little beat up, but then the altered version, yeah.
But isn't that another great example of a card, the 48 Leaf Ruth, of a memory where you and I know where we got them. We know we were with each other. We both bought them on 2 different days at the same show. Like you bought one and then I bought one the next day in Dallas. That's right. And I remember you telling me that night, like we came back because you stayed with me that weekend, didn't you?
That's right.
Yeah. And you were like, dude, if you don't buy that Ruth tomorrow, I'm buying it. And I'm like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah. The market's completely tanked since then, and that card's up. So, I mean, that tells you something, right?
It is weird. That card has almost doubled since we bought it. And both of ours are PSA 1s. So it's not like we have, you know, these huge grades, you know, these super high end grading ones.
Yeah, I'd be curious what the chat thinks about the PSA 1 question versus the authentic altered. If we're minority there.
There's Andy. I always say no. He's right.
That's his default.
He's like, don't buy it. He's always no. Mike collects plastic over cardboard. Is that true though? I mean, I love the cards. Like I want an example of the card. I just like my Walter Johnson's not going to be that high of grade, but it'll get graded, you know? So there you go. I always prefer a grade over authentic.
Yeah.
Now there are some cards I would make exceptions on, like a Mantle 52 tops. I know like Joe Silver Jacobite has an authentic, and it's nice. You know, there's just some cards that you might, you know, be able to only afford something like an authentic.
Yeah, I'm also not a huge fan of like just authentic itself. Like I'd rather, you know, if it's a 1 of 1, sometimes they'll just get it authentic, like that LeBron triple logo, man. I think it's just an authentic. Why not get like a PSA 7 or an 8? I'd rather at least have some grade on it than nothing.
Well, I know and again, I don't know that I agree with this mentality, but there are people that say, oh man, if you can't get a 10, just get it. If it's a super rare card, right? Just get it authenticated. It's in a slab. It's protected. But if it's not a 10, like especially on more modern cards, you wouldn't necessarily do that vintage wise. But Mike's right. Mike Summer says, you know, just because it's authentic doesn't automatically mean it's trim. No, of course not.
Right, yeah, there's two different grades, right? There's the authentic grade, and then there's the authentic altered grade.
Right.
And I guess my question was, would you rather have the authentic altered or the PSA 1 for, using your 2206 as an example?
So pinhole authentics are fantastic. Even better than pinhole authentics are pinhole PSA 1s, right? It's an auto 1 with a pinhole. So I love finding those kinds of cards. I have several of them actually in my collection that look great, other than some kids tacked it on his wall in 1948 or whatever. Like, that's fine, So
when you see a vintage card in a PSA 9 or 10, like in these crazy golden auctions, do you assume they've been tampered with and they just slipped by? Or do you think it's just a miracle it came out perfect and was preserved all these years?
both are probably true in different instances, right? I so don't play in that sandbox. So I hardly ever look at that stuff because it just makes me go, that's way, and like never ever, but no, I don't assume that they've been screwed with, although there's a high probability of that, right? In the reality of it, right? So
yeah, I don't play in that world either. That's the Nat Turner world, but it's still pretty crazy when you see a PSA 10 54 Hank Aaron, right?
Totally true. But that's what I love about vintage is the lower grades can look great. They don't cost a fortune. You can get a copy of the card, which is what we all truly like. I just want a nice copy of the card, right? And I want it protected. I want it encapsulated. I want it graded. But there's some, by the way, everybody, those joining us, we've had some incredible generosity so far on this with super chats. Thank you, everybody that's done that so far. We're giving away a ton of boxes on Monday through raffle. So any super chats will go, we'll get you entered into that raffle. So again, thank you everybody that wants to do that and appreciate it. Like Josh, do you go into a show though, like going, okay, I want, I'm really targeting this card?
Yeah, I generally have, 1, 2, 3, 4 cars that I'm really targeting, and sometimes it's just one. In a show as big as the National, hopefully you're able to see some, and then you just see stuff you never see, right? You can be searching eBay for years, and there's just certain things that pop up there that are super rare. So you kind of have to be ready to pounce. The question always is timing, right? Sometimes you see that card in the first 5 minutes, and if it's a solid deal, do you jump at it, or do you try to play the long game and say, I'll check every table, I'll come back in a day or two, and hopefully it's still there, but sometimes it's gone, right? So that's always the question: is when you see that card right away, are you patient or do you just pounce?
If it's super rare, you pounce. If it's a 65 tops Mickey Mantle, there will be tons of them there.
Yeah,
be
for
patient.
sure. Yeah, on a commodity card, you're definitely waiting.
Right. And I did that last year with the 53 Bowman color mantle. I knew there would be a ton of them there. I did have, now that I think about it, I did kind of make a top 10, top 15 list. Like, okay, I wanted to complete a Koufax run and a Clemente. Like there were some cards that I was like 1 or 2 short on finishing a player run. I'm like, okay, these are kind of, I really wrote them down so I wouldn't forget that I need, like, hey, be looking for these, because it turns in, if you're at the National, it just turns into a sea of similarity. You become numb to it almost. You walk by a table, but I feel, and I don't know if you're this way, if I get a card in my brain that I'm looking for, the 53 Bowman color mantle, and I go to a table, I can tell this quick if there's one there, because I'm looking, I know what the colors are, I know what it looks like, and my brain is wired to identify that card, right? It's weird how that works. If you look at it, if you go to enough shows, you okay, that's all modern, next, or whatever. I love the modern dealers though, Josh, where they have all modern stuff and the random vintage card that they might have gotten in some trade or some deal. And they're not really vintage guys. Those are guys, quite frankly, I look to take advantage of, because they don't know what they have, or if they do, they probably don't value it as much as the other stuff. And so they're just like, let me just get rid of this anomaly that's in my showcase as quick as I can. And usually it's a throw in a deal or something. You know what I mean? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, you ask yourself, why do they have that card? Well, they probably got it, like you said, as a throw in, really cheap. So they're in at a low price point, probably, which means, they're not going to give it away, but you're probably going to get a solid deal. So they're probably not sitting on that for a super long time. So that's a great opportunity. That's actually a good call out, is the vintage kind of stuck within a whole modern table.
Yeah. And I find that interesting. Not only is the National obviously great for getting cards, seeing your friends, getting autographs, as we saw in the last, if you guys didn't watch Frank and Bill on the last hour of Hobbypalooza, definitely go back and watch that. If you're an autograph guy and you're going to the National and that's something that's for you, they had a lot of great advice in that. And a couple things that they mentioned that I want to bring up here, because I think we could talk about it differently than maybe their perspective as autograph collectors, is that the National, the dealers are set up on a legacy system, right? So the guys that have been doing it forever kind of get first choice, and they're usually all up at the front. And then you got the newer dealers that have just joined the National fray towards the back. In Chicago, that's very delineating. Ironically, they have, right, the red carpet area in Chicago versus the not red carpeted area. And somebody commented that in the comments, like, oh, does that mean there's no vintage, at different places in the National? And that's just not true. There's vintage everywhere. You'll see more vintage at the National than you will, say, at the Dallas Card Show. Very different vibe, right? Dallas is predominantly modern with a little bit of vintage. I would say that it's flipped for the National. It's predominantly vintage with plenty of modern. Like, don't get me wrong, there's enough of that crap that everybody and their mother has a Zion Williamson PSA 10 rookie, or Gavin Lux, just to knock on your Dodgers a little.
His fault. That card was graded 20,000 times.
So don't make any assumptions about the Nat. It's best to go in with zero assumptions. Look everywhere for whatever you're looking for. And look in the corners. Look in the booths that don't have anybody, because they probably have crappy stuff. There's nobody there. Maybe not what you're looking. Don't be afraid to look everywhere. Turn over every rock. Do you agree with that advice?
Yeah, not only turning it over on the dealer side, but if you see, someone come in and they're trying to do a trade with a dealer, after that deal is done, you can ask to look at their cards, right? And then, these trade nights, the last, in Chicago, the trade nights were insane, right? I remember going to the trade night that Ryan put together in Cleveland. It was kind of small little thing, and it's just exploded since then. So, that's kind of changed the whole landscape, right? In terms of who's the dealer, where the power is. That's kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, and you can just find more cards that way too.
Are you surprised over the last, since you and I have been going to the Nationals, I think about the same amount this will be my 6th or 7th. What about for you?
I think it's my 5th.
Yeah. So similar amount of and one of mine doesn't count because it was 1990. That was I was like 17 years old. So I don't even remember much about it at all. So to me, the coolest thing about the National is the expansion of all of the kind of extracurricular activities. It used to be you'd go to the show, maybe go to dinner with a couple of buddies, and then you go to bed. There wasn't stuff to do at night. Now there's stuff going on 24/7, it feels like, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, you see people the next day who just been up till 3 or 4 the previous night. People are going hard. There's more events. There's that Panini VIP. There's the trade nights. There's a YouTube meetup, the Tops Q&A, which I think you were first in line last year. Eric's always good at asking questions at that one. So there's just, tons of events. And then with Fanatics coming in, you would think they're trying to make a really big splash this year. They're obviously the elephant in the room. So there's no shortage of events.
Well, let's talk through a few of those for those of you that might be going and are unaware. Wednesday night, there's typically not a ton going on because the show's open until 8, so it's a later show. All the other days it closes at 6. So there's more opportunity on those days to do evening extracurricular stuff. On Thursday, we are doing the YouTube get together, kind of whoever watches, or content creator, I guess now, because it's podcasters and not just YouTube, but anybody that creates content. We're doing a get together at the Sheraton, which is literally across the street from the convention center, basically in the lobby. Like there's no set room. I haven't rented any space. It's just show up at 7:00 and hang out with people. And it's just like, hey, everybody meet here. It's kind of this very not impromptu, but just informal for sure. That's the exact same time that you mentioned the trade night, the big trade night, hosted by Card Collector 2, Ryan, is that night. It's actually sponsored by it's a national event this year for the first time, which who would have thought, right?
Insane. Unbelievable how that's grown out of like a, small YMCA thing. I mean, even the YouTube meetup has grown so much. I remember in Cleveland, it was like 5 people, me, Miko, Nolan, Aliko, just grabbing beers. And then in Chicago, we had well over 100 people there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you're a content creator, obviously come people. And then if you're just a viewer, just come watch. Or come meet people, not watch. You won't be watching. Just come mingle and hang out. And it's a great time. And it's a come and go. So don't feel like if you go to one, you can't go to the other. Go to the trade night for a little while and then come over to the YouTube get together, or go to the YouTube thing and then hit the trade night, after hours, whatever. So they're not mutually exclusive. You can do them all. Usually Tops does their Q&A, which is a great event. I've been to the last 2 or 3, I guess. People are asking, Josh, if you'll be signing at the YouTube get together.
For you, Vince, anything but.
And he's doing, photo ops, like those are free. Totally allowed. Actually, Josh, you may want to, say required minimum $5 donation right here on this.
Yeah, the super chat. Of course, if you want an inscription, that's another $5. You can look.
There you go. Yeah. So super chat right now, $5. Get Josh's autograph at the National. He'll be happy to do it. And by the way, we'll help out Signatures for Soldiers. So I want to talk about the Tops Q&A. So everybody wants to go to it. Only 150 people get to. So you have to be on the ball. When were we there, Josh? Thursday at Open?
Like right, even before it. I mean, right it was going, because they usually give away a card. This last year was that Louis Robert auto, and those are serial numbered, like you said, at 125. So it goes fast.
Yeah, or one. I can't remember. Yeah, is it 125, 150? It's not many. Yeah. And it's literally you sign up, and if you're not on, they cut it off, and it's done by, if the show opens at 10, which is when they start, allowing people to quote unquote officially sign up. You can be in line for that. It's done in an hour. Like it's full. So if you're not there, don't be disappointed. It just is what it is. Let's see, what else do we want? So Friday night, we're in Atlantic City, right? I mean, you and I plan on hitting the tables a little bit. We're going to have a little fun with that, I'm sure.
We got to get a poker game going. Andy and I were joking about, like, instead of chips, we can use our Gavin Lux, PSA slabs.
Yeah. So that's a min raise. If you're doing a min raise, Gavin Lux,
over the top.
So yeah, I mean, there's just always stuff to happen. I don't think Atlantic City is going to have the same breadth of trade nights like it did in Chicago, because I don't think the hotel environment is conducive to that, because you've got, really, they're all casinos for the most part. And so they're not going to allow, 100 guys with Pelican cases to start grabbing tables and make this impromptu card show like we saw in Chicago. I don't think Chicago hotels were happy about it either, but like, what are you going to do? Stop it?
Wow, VOC, very generous. Did you see that comment?
No. Where are we at?
Vintage oddball cards here. Everybody should go to the get together. It's a blast. Mike, I'll donate an autographed jersey you can give away.
Bam. So if you go to the get together, Rick will be giving away an autographed jersey, which he did last year, I believe, as well. So that's awesome. So Rick is one of those guys who is an amazing YouTuber, has a phenomenal collection. If you don't follow Vintage Oddball Cards, if you like vintage, and if you're watching this show, you probably do, or you're just hanging out with Hobbypalooza. But I met Rick at a national, and Rick can remind me of the year. They all blur together. I think it was 19. And he's like, I'm thinking about doing videos. So I'm like, hey, me and several others kind of encouraged him, like, hey, you should start doing content. And now, Rick comes on. Hey guys, this is Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards, and so he became a part of the community, and that's the biggest thing. Is it's just such a community. People, oh, nobody will like me or what? Dude, just try it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. It's a pretty friendly crew.
It is a pretty friendly crew. What else do we want to talk about? The Panini party. Are you going to the Panini? Because it feels like it's cheap this year.
I think so. Yeah, they have. Speaking of NFTs, they have a NFT kind of invite going on where you get certain swag. So probably we'll go to that Friday night. I have a few friends going to that. If you want to go crazy and do the bottle service, I know how you like to roll.
Oh, wouldn't do it any other way.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of other options going on. And then for you and the trade nights, like those trade nights are the 16-year-olds with their Pelican cases. Usually that's usually a lot of modern stuff. Like, are you going to that stuff? Do you even enjoy it?
I enjoy walking around and doing a lot of this, shaking my head going, this is nuts. It's cool to see the hobby that way. Like, I love that part of it. I love the impromptu-ness of it, but I don't ever find any cards that I'm interested in it. But that's okay.
Yeah, and for so many years, people said, "Oh, the hobby's all these old guys." Well, now you're getting some young guys in, so you can't have it both ways. It's fun, it's nice to see the new blood, and then it's crazy. Some of these 15-year-old guys, they don't even have a license yet, and they have far superior collections to me. So it's just insane to see what some of these guys all around.
Blue Rock bottle service. I'm more of a spam cheese whiz type of guy. So I know there are several kind of groups of guys all with Airbnbs. We may be doing a house jumping, from house to house. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, we save a lot on those Airbnbs. Right now, the hotel rooms, my buddy was looking at Valleys, I think it's like $500-$600 a night. So
really?
Yeah. So that pays for the bottle service right there.
We did really good then.
Yeah.
We have, and I'll be fully transparent. I don't care. We got an Airbnb that is 3 blocks away from the show, 5-minute walk. And we're paying just over $2,000, like $2,100 for Tuesday night through Saturday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So 5 nights, $2,000. There's 6 of us staying there. Do the math. It's not that bad for the week, and you get to hang out with your friends. There's kind of this, extra bonus, right? That'd be cool. Like one year, if just the whole YouTube community bought out an entire hotel, like we just went, we're all staying in this hotel. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people are still looking for places. I guess you can always book the hotel and then cancel later. And obviously the Airbnb is a better deal.
But do you think that will disincentivize people from going to the show? Like the cost, gas prices, hotel costs, airfare, etc.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm coming from California, so it's a more expensive flight, flying to Philly, then it's either an Uber or train to get there. Plus, if you can't get an Airbnb, it's a serious commitment. So I understand why a lot of people on the West Coast might bow out. But if you're within striking distance, it's definitely worth going.
I was busting your chops telling you to get your plane ticket.
Yeah. You had an in with Vladimir Putin, and you knew the energy prices were going up. So,
no, I didn't know that. But are you thinking of what you'll do the trade night? You think on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff's fun. Stop by. If you're enjoying it, you stay. There's going to be a lot of people, I think, that like you said, within the YouTube community, there's a lot of groups that you can meet up with. You got the Stove group, you got the Vince group, you got the Lou Rock group. Some of these guys all unite too. So it's fun, slowly meeting more people over the years, and then, meeting some people for the first time who, you've communicated with on YouTube or wherever, or Instagram, and they're generally much taller in person, I found.
Yeah, like Bob Lewis. Everybody says Bob Lewis is always taller. Did you I've never met Jake in person, and he's staying with us, so I'm looking forward to that. There's a lot of people. I've never met Ray from Philly in person, and he was my first friend on YouTube, that I met through the community that I actually talked to outside of. And my wife, Julie, thought I was nuts, and I probably was, but
you're talking to some stranger on YouTube. Like, what first got you watching YouTube videos back in the day? Who were the first guys you would watch?
Oh, I would watch, Puff Bear 359. Like, some of you new folks won't people say, "Oh, Mike, you're an OG," or "Josh, you're an OG," and like, no, not even close. Not even close. But Puff Bear, because he had a cool room, where he had all this stuff set up. Guys like AR Falk 77, but Mike O, Wesker Griff, guys that are still in the community today were some of the first ones. Right. Nate, Tops 85 401, and he used to have a show, Baseball Card Junkies TV.
That was a great one.
All of that stuff, man. What about you?
Yeah, a lot of the same guys, Mike O, Wes Griff, Elite Co, and then met Nate and some of the Northern California crew at a show, and they're super warm, and so kind of got in through that way. I had seen a couple of your videos. I didn't know if we'd get along, and then we meet in person, and it was just easy. So, you just introduce yourself, don't be shy, and seems like you already have a lot in common, right? I mean, what percentage of people collect cards, right? It's already not that many people when you think about the whole U.S. So you
didn't think we would get along? Are you serious?
I didn't know. I mean, you're from Texas. I'm from California. I didn't know if you're gonna hate on me for that. Dodgers fan versus Rangers. No, I thought we would, but
Yeah, you don't know, but
introduce yourself, and like I said, people are super friendly, and Rick and others are super generous too. So it's a good crew.
Yeah. So there's Sarah, Pure Ace is full, not able to make it to AC, had a blast last year, and great to meet you both. Yeah. Sarah was one of those that I met. She goes, "Hey, I saw your video. You need this card." I saw it. She helped me find a card that I wanted in my collection just from watching it. Or watching videos, and then she helped me out. That's just so cool that she would do that and think about it. And
yeah, definitely grew up a Dodgers fan, so definitely a Dodgers fan here.
I even like Yankees fan here. Yeah, it's hard sometimes. Been enjoying Golden Age of Cardboard for sports content. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is Josh's second appearance on Golden Age of Cardboard. We did an episode early in Golden Age where we talked about Dodgers greats, Drysdale, Koufax, Campanella. There's so many of them, right? I mean, and like I told Joe the other night, you're in Yankee Stadium. We went to Yankee Stadium. I hate the Yankees, despise them, and yet appreciate the history and respect the history. They have banners up of DiMaggio and Ruth and Gehrig and Mantle and all these guys. And I love that stuff. And it was a great experience. The museum is super awesome at Yankee Stadium. I feel the same way about the Dodgers, such a rich history, so many great players. And I just, as a baseball fan, appreciate that, respect that, love it. So what happened to Beyond Cardboard? Good question, Vince. That was an old show I used to do. It kind of turned into Golden Age of Cardboard a little bit because I just have my friends on and we just talk and shoot the bull. But
yeah, that was a good show. You got to bring that back some point.
The Beyond Cardboard, yeah, it was an interview show.
That was his face. You should do an episode with him.
Oh yeah, Vince is now kind of out there, so he put himself out there with starting with Joe. I don't know what Joe had to pay him to actually be on camera. I'm going to try to do a Beyond Cardboard with Andrew, Enough Said Cards, because I think he's only appeared on camera literally a couple times.
Yeah, he's like the Mexican lucha libre wrestlers who wear the mask.
Ooh, that would be hilarious, like, and good. But we got 10 minutes. What else do you want to? What do you guys want to talk about? Y'all ask us some questions about either the national, vintage collecting. By the way, if y'all don't follow Rated Rookie on YouTube, highly suggest it. Josh's stuff is amazing. Just go watch his top 100, top 50 videos at the end of the year, and you'll get a feel for the kind of stuff that Josh likes. Oh, I wanted to bring up a point because you said something earlier about being ready to buy something you may not see at the national, right? And you're kind of be ready to pounce on it, kind of thing. Last year, like I bought a Kobe rookie last year at the Nat. Like, I'm not a basketball guy, but I'll buy stuff, and this is true of any show, but really true at the national, that I just think is cool. That I just think is like, man, that is different. It's neat. It would be great to have a great card, like, for example, the Kobe Topps paper rookie. I got a good deal on it, and I bought it from a friend. I'll never forget, I bought it from Eric, those back pages, which it was amazing to get him to sell me a card, right? I mean, like, that's
never
a miracle. Before I get to any other questions that you guys have, another last plug for, remember, super chats today. Get today and tomorrow, every stream, get you entered into the raffle for all the boxes that we're giving away. It also helps support Signatures for Soldiers. I can't wait we're going to take them a check at the national for whatever you guys donate. So appreciate that.
Yeah. So question there, when you're thinking about, you're flying out to Philly and going to AC, when you're on that plane, are you thinking about, okay, here's my budget. I want to spend the majority of that on, the key mutual or the key cards I'm going after. And then I'll spend, 10% on these kind of interesting things that I might come across, like the Kobe rookie or something fun or something unusual. Is that kind of how you're thinking about it? Or are you just, whatever catches your eye?
Both, honestly, because I think we all want to stretch our hobby budget as much as I'd rather buy a quantity of quality, right? So I'm going to look, let's say at the usual 48 leaf, I'm going to look at comps a week before and kind of write down, okay, in this grade range, they go for this amount. And okay, that kind of gives me at least a ballpark. But no, I'd rather get as many cards as I can. So the idea of spending 3/4 of my budget on one card makes me sad, actually, because that just leaves less room for other things that might come up, right? I like to be able to act spur of the moment. Do you do the same? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to spend your whole budget on one card right away, because that makes the rest of the show not quite as fun. I'll also bring a few cards that, are doubles that I'm willing to trade into a deal. And so that's another benefit of the national, right? Is you can potentially do trade plus cash for a deal. And yeah, I think it's fun to have some oddball stuff. Like I picked up a Walt Disney card not so long ago, or some things you're not necessarily top of your list, are just fun and you rarely see. Like some of these cards here that might only think of the beverage card on that.
Yeah, I saw that. Oops. Let's see. We got a good question here from Buy High, Sell Low. You might think about changing your name. No, I'm just kidding. Do you think now is the time to be buying vintage, or will prices come down with the rest of the market? What do you think, Josh?
I mean, it's hard to imagine the market going up too much ahead of the national. Obviously, these things are hard to predict, but if you look at like the card ladder indices, everything's down from basketball to baseball to football. The low end, the high end, the mid end, it's all coming down recently in the last month and the last quarter. So it seems like there will definitely be some better buying opportunities at the national this year than obviously in Chicago. Will it be the bottom of the market? That's obviously really hard to predict, but both Mike and I are kind of in this for the long haul, and we're looking to pick up pieces that, aren't leaving anytime soon. So I'm kind of excited for it. people like to complain no matter what. When the market's high, they say they can't buy anything, and when the market's low, they say their cars aren't worth anything. So it's like you can't have it both ways. Wow, major another super chat out of Mexico.
We've got Mexico, Canada, and U.S. dollars.
International. So I got some Brazilian family I got to reach out to right now.
I'm telling you, Chasing Cardboard or not Chasing Cardboard. That's another show. Hobbypalooza is global. Like, right? We're global. Come on. What do you think about this question here, Josh?
Do you guys consider the Barry Bonds tops traded not vintage? I mean, for me, I think vintage probably around 80 and earlier. But everyone has their own definition of vintage. So for me, Barry Bonds is not vintage. It's more like, my childhood. What's your definition, Mike?
I'm 80 and before. I think there are eras, right? You got pre-war era, then I call it the vintage era, which is basically 48 to 80. Then you got the overproduced era, and you got modern and ultra modern eras. So, and that's always a moving timeline, right? But I think if
it's ultra modern in 20 years, right?
It'll have a new era. Like you'll just name it a different era. It'll be the junk slab era or the whatever, vintage era is a fixed time. The pre-war era is a fixed time. We'll have these other fixed times as time moves on in the hobby. It's just easier to define it. Like there's no, like, if you think an 84 card's a vintage card, that's okay. Like who cares what you call it and you're labeling it? It doesn't really matter. But typically when we're talking, vintage, it's 48 to 80. And then pre-war is a whole nother ball of wax, so thank you to Fernando. I know, by the way, Fernando is coming to his first national this year. So that's super.
Nice. Introduce yourself, please.
Yeah. Say hi to everybody. We already did that one.
Here's a question. How long do you think the PSA grading line will be?
Oh, so I did it last year. Okay. We have 3 minutes to talk about this. If you're bringing cards for the weekend to get graded, don't do it. Don't even bother. They will be sold out of grading slots by Thursday afternoon, probably. The pricing hasn't come out, so it's really hard to think what the demand might be out there. Oh my gosh. Otto, dude.
It's really generous. I love that comment.
Thank you, Otto. Really, really appreciate that. Wow. I'm kind of speechless. That's unbelievable. Got back to stupid cardboard. Let's talk. So if you're wanting to bring cards to grade, the line's super long. I did a video last year. I walked the line on Wednesday afternoon when people were turning cards in. It was 300 people deep. Like, no kidding. So be prepared to stand in line. And it sucks because to me, show time or floor time is valuable time. And anytime I don't have to spend that standing in a stupid line is good.
Yeah.
So
the difference,
do that stuff.
The difference this year is that in Chicago, they were just grading there, right? But this year they're going to be grading at the show as well as taking stuff back to Newport and at the PSA headquarters. So maybe that'll change it a little bit, but I think you're right. If you don't get in early, it's just huge time suck, and you only have so much time to walk the floor, right?
Yeah, it's important to get there. Don't waste your show time, your floor time sitting in the line. Like, go later in the day, or obviously I just said if you don't go by Wednesday or Thursday morning, you're not going to do it. You're not going to be able to make it happen. Do all your paperwork beforehand. That's another trick. Like, fill out your submission form and all that, where you literally just have to turn it in. They go, all right, you said you have these 3 or 4 or 10 cards or 100, and they look at them. Yep, good. And you're off and running once you get to the front of the line. So be prepared. Josh, any final thoughts as we wrap this up? Thank you for being here, by the way.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you bringing me in out of the bullpen. This was fun. enjoyed chatting with you, and I can't believe how generous people were. That was awesome to see.
Yeah, that was amazing. Again, great question, by the way, and welcome to the vintage abyss that you're going to fall into. It's fantastic. What's the value difference between white and grayback? It can vary from set to set. There is a difference. So I don't have time to go into all of that, but there is a difference, and it's just the scarcity of the back based on when they printed it. That's all. Let's see. Andy says we set the bar high. By the way, Andy will be on in a couple of hours. Are you a guest on Andy's show too? Like, are you just making the rounds today with all your friends?
I'm loyal to you, Mike. I'm just doing this one. Got a busy weekend, but this was fun. Andy, I think, is bringing on a surprise mystery guest, so that should be entertaining.
I know who that is. It should be entertaining is the word I'll use. Dude, you only agreed to come on my show because I said you stay at the National with us if you didn't. Like, that's not fair.
I want to be your roomie.
Well, you get to be. Everybody, thanks for showing up. Next up is one of my favorites for the weekend. It's going to be Scott, Reindeer Studios, and Eric, Four Leaf Cards. They're going to be doing a little, hey, they're drawing Jackie Robinson.
Wow.
Josh. So go over there, check that out. It'll be on the Bench Clear channel. Thanks, everybody, for your generosity today. So much. That was awesome. Catch you guys soon. Keep collecting.
Thanks, guys.
I got to end.